everyone, welcome back to my channel where I talk about all things sustainable, eco-friendly, and consumer conscious. Today on the channel, I wanted to do a little update on my low buy year and how I'm doing. And spoiler alert, I'm not doing that great. So I'm here to support all of you who are trying to do a low buy year with this update. So today in this video, I'm going to go through some of the triggers that I have for shopping, some of the vices that I have discovered about shopping, some of the things I'm doing pretty well at, and then at the end of the video, I want to go through some of the things to do about those problematic areas. So if you want to see some solutions, stick around. Before we move on, I would really appreciate it if you hit that like button because it really does help me grow my channel and spread the word about sustainability and conscious consumption. Thank you. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So in my first video on low buy year and kind of my intention with it, I was talking about how I don't think that I am a shopper. Well, it turns out that I actually am a shopper, and what I do a lot of is boredom shopping. And I have a feeling that in the current situation, I am not alone. So what I do is I go online and just kind of think to myself that I'm gonna browse, I'm gonna look around for current trends, for timeless pieces, for things that are on sale, and sometimes items end up in my basket and then sometimes they even get purchased. I also found out that I have a serious case of FOMO when it comes to Instagram ads. So when I'm scrolling through Instagram, a lot of the times if I see an ad on specifically a sustainable brand, I will always go and check it out. And this is how I ended up with some of the body pieces that I bought this year. I found them on Instagram and I wasn't looking for them. It's just they came up based on, I guess, the algorithm, based on the search that I do usually on Instagram. I know this is also an issue for a lot of you because some of you have commented in my Instagram stories that this is actually a trigger for you when you see Instagram ads. I have also discovered a huge vice, and that is children's toys. Again, in my first video about low buy year this year, I talked about how it's an issue I want to tackle, and I really want to limit the number of toys I buy for my child. However, I found out that both my husband and I are actually really bad at not buying toys. We get him toys all the time, it turns out. And I don't know if it has anything to do with the current situation where I feel really bad that my child is isolated from his friends and he lacks in the social interaction. So maybe we are both kind of throwing toys at him instead in the hopes that he will be entertained. I do have to say that most of the toys, at least that I buy for my child, are secondhand. Yay for me. But I have found that this is a big area of improvement for us as a family, for me as an individual, and I am going to keep on working on it. Getting back to fashion and clothing, which is really where my interest kind of lies, and this is what I really wanted to target my wardrobe with this low buy year. I found out through this experience that my wardrobe is not actually complete. And it could be because I lived in a very different climate for the last 6 years. I lived first in a very cold country and then I lived in the tropics. So now I'm living in a true 4 seasons country, and I'm finding that I don't have a lot of the pieces that people in this climate need. For example, in between shoes or in between jumpers and sweaters. So I had to replenish, or rather add, these pieces into my wardrobe. So because my wardrobe is not complete, maybe this was not a great year to start a low buy year challenge. However, what I have learned is that one of the good things that I do, and this is kind of the good thing that I've learned in this challenge, is that when I'm thinking of getting a new piece for my wardrobe, I automatically think secondhand. So I have conditioned myself in the last kind of year really hard to look for secondhand first, which is, I think, super cool. So everything I'm wearing today, including the jewelry, is actually secondhand. I love giving a piece that has already been made a new life, sort of. And I think it contributes really well to reducing overall carbon footprint for the world and buying secondhand reduces the need for production of new fibers, shipping those fibers, unethical labor practices. So really, buying secondhand is really the best thing you can do in terms of fashion consumption. So I'm doing really well, I think, in that front. However, the amount of stuff I bought secondhand, I think, outweighs my contribution to reducing my carbon footprints, because I have bought definitely 20 pieces already this year. And this includes this necklace and this sweater and a pair of shoes and those bodies. And the reason I bought them is because, like I told you, I found out that my wardrobe was not complete. And I still think it's not complete, but it's getting there. So I was actually really happy that we as a society kind of skipped spring and we are almost diving into summer, because I wasn't able to get out. So actually this was my wardrobe for most of the days when I was at home. Just really casual sweater and jeans and not even shoes. In my first slow buy video, I also talked about waiting for an item for a while before buying it. And that's another thing that I'm doing well at. Not only do I go to secondhand stores to buy my items, but I also do wait quite a bit. So for this sweater, I waited about a month to get it because I saw it and I really wanted it to go on a little bit of a sale. And I actually offered an amount to the person, which they then accepted, and then I got it. So it does take me a while to buy things, but still I buy them. So one of the other things I really wanted to tackle in the slow buy challenge also had nothing to do with fashion. It has to do with food. And I wanted to really reduce my food waste. However, I found out that I am no good at this either, and I have a lot to learn still in this area. So while we do compost a lot, and we are very fortunate enough to have our community have a compost pickup service, I do that. However, we also waste a lot of perfectly good food. I think the reason for it is because I don't really meal plan in advance enough. So I buy a lot of things at the store that I think I'm gonna use and I don't end up using. Or I overcook because there's only 3 of us, really 2.5, because my toddler eats a significantly smaller portion. So I overcook and then we end up not having leftovers. I also found out that neither my husband nor I like eating leftovers. Call us spoiled, but it turns out we don't like eating leftovers, so we end up throwing a lot of bits of food away. I'm actually really ashamed of admitting this because I understand how big of an issue food waste in the world is, and I have realized that I contribute a lot to it, and I want to reduce my impact there. So what I have decided to do is really meal plan for the week. And I don't know how it's gonna go. I really need to kind of read about it because I don't know where to even start. I don't know, how do you know what you're gonna eat the whole week? Because I'm much more of an ideas person when it comes to food. I come up with an idea and then I cook it right away if I have the ingredients. I don't know how to plan ahead for food, so that's an area for me to learn. So if you have any suggestions on how to meal plan and where to start, leave them down in the comments below because I really do need help in that area. So now I wanted to move on to some of the things that I have started doing to avoid the behaviors that I have just listed. So the first one has to do with clothing. I have found out that by decluttering my wardrobe, I have discovered a few pieces of clothing that I had actually forgotten about. And by changing the wardrobe from winter to spring and eventually to summer, I've actually found out again that I have some items that I've forgotten about. It has definitely impacted what I was going to buy this year, and I ended up not buying because I have discovered it in my wardrobe already. By decluttering, you can also kind of revive love for certain items, and you can maybe try to rewear them in different ways. And that leads me to my second point. I have participated in this 1x5x home challenge on Instagram hosted by these 2 lovely ladies. And the challenge involved wearing a piece of clothing that is slightly unwanted in your wardrobe 5 different ways around the house in a week. And I chose jumpsuit, and I have found that I styled it in 5 different ways and in ways I wouldn't have normally. So this challenge forced me to think of how to style my clothing in different ways, and it took me out of my comfort zone. On Friday, I posted a picture of how I would normally wear this jumpsuit, and that's when I realized that I am such a creature of habit because I wear the same, not just pieces, but outfits. So I tend to repeat the outfit over and over again. When I decide that something looks good together, I keep wearing the same 2-3 pieces together. And I need to get out of that comfort zone a little bit to make sure that I wear all the pieces in my wardrobe that exist already. So another tip I wanted to repeat, because I kind of mentioned it in the middle of the video, is that toy buying behavior. So I find that if I avoid bringing my child into particularly a toy shop, obviously, but also just a regular grocery store, he does not ask for things as much, and he doesn't get into a habit. He forgets that he has a habit of asking for toys, rather. So if you want your child to stop asking for toys, you might want to try to shop at times when they are not with you, if that's a possibility. Of course, I know that everybody has a different situation and that may not be possible. If you have to buy toys, look for them in secondhand sources. So I have found most of my kids' toys on Facebook Marketplace, which is a great resource because people constantly get rid of toys on there. I found that toy exchanges are really useful, and of course places that are traditionally secondhand shops like Etsy, Vinted, and even Craigslist. People get rid of stuff all the time. As I said in my previous video, kids don't really care for the packaging, they just want to play with the toy. So if it comes without the box, it's completely fine. Coming back to food waste, I found that by making a list when you go shopping, when I go shopping, really helps avoid food waste and forces me to meal plan a little bit. So I asked for your help for how to start. That's the only thing that I've done so far that I think is helping, but I'm not sure how to go beyond that. So again, if you have any suggestions, please comment down below on them. To close, I wanted to mention that in terms of my well-being, I feel a lot more liberated, is that the word, from constant need to shop. So I have made this goal. I have realized that I am a shopper more than I am, and now I'm very aware of that. So anytime I have the urge to shop, I try to redirect my attention to something else. I have bought a lot of books, and I talked about them in this video that's coming up in the cards now, and I'm going through 2 of them at the same time right now. And I find that whenever I have the urge to shop, if instead I read a few pages of a book, it really does help me redirect my attention to something else and avoid shopping. So overall, I feel that I don't want to say I failed, but I haven't done as well as I had hoped I would do. I still have a lot of work to do. We're only a third through the year. But because I did quite a bit of shopping for the fall and the winter last year, I don't think I'll be doing that much shopping for those 2 seasons this year. So hopefully I will stick to maybe at least 30 items this year. I hope this video is helpful for those of you who are struggling with your low buy goals, or who are thinking about starting a low buy challenge of any sort, a low buy week, month, half a year, or a year. And I want to encourage everybody to keep going. And I am here, and there's a great community online supporting each other for low buy goals. So leave your concerns or any complaints or any comments down below in the comment section, and we can start this conversation about really what is making us buy stuff. What are we doing to stop ourselves from buying things? Do we need to buy this much stuff? And so on. I hope to have a conversation with you down in the comments below. As always, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining me here on this channel and listening to my ramblings. I hope this is helpful for you and you are encouraged to keep going, and I'll see you next time. Bye.